Hello, lovelies. My name is Divine, and welcome to my YouTube channel. So, before we proceed, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell beside it, and let's get right to it. Last night I watched a video clip of Bishop T.D. Jakes being interviewed by Steve Harvey, and they were talking about children. And Bishop T.D. Jakes said something I thought was really powerful. He said, it's not what you leave to the children that makes them great, it's what you leave in them. And I thought that was really interesting as I was just reflecting on my own life as a child and my own childhood, rather, and how certain things were instilled in me, certain values were instilled in me when it comes particularly to the topic of today, which is sex. And that I was being taught those things by people who played important roles in my life, and people who wanted me to learn as I grew as a child, and they approached it from different angles altogether, which helped me to have more of an all-round kind of understanding of it. So I remember how when it came to my dad, right, and my mom, rather, both of them, let me say, they made sure that they were approachable, so I could ask them any question at any time and anywhere, while we were doing any activities together, even as a family, so that I could get informed right there, And at times they would share their own experiences with me, so that and they would also tell me what they had learned from their own experiences, so that I would also know the reality of life, and at the same time learn more and more, and to learn that at times when certain things happen to us when we are still children, especially when it involves older people, we need to be careful about being manipulated to do certain things, because at times we do not really know what is going on until we've grown older and we actually start to make sense of what happened back then. So I'm really grateful for how they taught me. And I remember my dad used to also stress the issue of dressing. At that time, I didn't really understand why. But as I grew older, I began to realize that he wanted me to understand that as much as I may think and feel, I can dress whichever way I like and I have the right to do so, there are many other people where I was growing up or in that community and society who would see it differently, and it would give me a perspective as a man that, okay, certain things that you want to put on will have consequences, whether or not you like it, So that was one way in which he would also put it. And I remember what it would look like sometimes when we had these conversations with my parents. With my mom, I would probably just be at home, relaxing, or I'm helping her in the kitchen, or we are going shopping together, and maybe she tells us a story of hers, and then she tells us what she learned from it, and then I start asking questions, as I usually would. And it would be fun, but at the same time, it would get me thinking afterwards. And with my dad, at times, it would be like maybe when you're taking a walk to the shops, or just anytime, anytime was tea time. I remember another time we went jogging early in the morning, and I decided to tell him, and I said, so Daddy, I dated this other guy. And then I kept quiet. And then he just jogged quietly for a few seconds. And then he goes, why do you youngsters even date anyway? And I was like, huh? Anyway, he gave me his own perspective as a man, and he gave me his advice to help me understand that it's not that they were trying to stop me from enjoying my life, but they wanted me to be protected and to be responsible wherever I was, because they were trying to empower me as a person and to shape the way I thought, because they would not always be there with me wherever I would go in life. So that was pretty interesting and very helpful for me. And I remember another thing that happened is that my grandmom, she used to teach us also about the same topic, but she used to stress a lot about how we as girls, we needed to be very careful in terms of how we interacted and related with men. And she did not discriminate against any man in terms of whether they are relatives or friends or whatever. According to her, it was, if you're a girl and there's a man involved, be careful. And she would, if for example I told you that, okay, I spent the day with so and so, or this and this happened, she would be very inquisitive to show me that this is serious, don't take it lightly. You were with some guy or with some men somewhere, what was happening? And she would ask me questions, and at first I used to wonder, okay, is something supposed to have happened or what? But she would say to us, you know what, when it comes to men, just be careful and don't be quick to trust anyone. Always make sure that you put your protection first. And I remember how that helped us to even take care of ourselves emotionally and to take care of ourselves physically. I remember as I grew, I was not in the habit of hugging guys or men in general, because it's something I just took upon myself from when I was a child, when I was taught, that I don't just hug a man and I don't just allow a man to touch me anyhow, even my hands or anyway. What is he looking for there? There are boundaries to these things. That's how I used to take it. And when I was a bit older, I remember it helped me in that when I began to become a bit more okay with hugging men in that aspect, it was with understanding that, okay, this is someone, let's say I know, and where are we, and what is my relationship with that person? Do I know this person? Does this compromise me in any way? Okay, then I can hug them. If I don't really quite know them yet, even with knowing someone, I'll still try to be cautious. And I think that was really helpful, what she taught us. And one other thing I'd like to say is, when it comes to such topics, girls are usually the ones who are drilled, and being taught all these lessons. But at times, boys are not really taught the same things or in the same way. But I think it should be such things should be taught to both boys and girls, and boys also need to be taught to respect females in general, and to not objectify them. I think it's very important, because when girls are being raised, they're being raised to be honorable and to be good and all, but if the guys are being raised differently and they go to learn how to act and how to behave and how to live on the streets or anywhere else, later on in life is going to affect everything. It's going to affect even family structures of the future and all. So I think such things need to be taught to everyone, and also to boys, because stuff like sexual abuse don't happen only to girls but boys as well. Another thing that was really helpful to me, that my father and my mom always used to want us to understand is, be content with what you have. Even if you do not really have as much money as you've always wanted to have or to spend, be okay with that. Work with what you have, not to now try to seek other ways of getting the same thing. Sometimes it's not worth it, and that was really a good teaching that I received. So anyway, that was my 2 cents on the topic, and I hope I was able to elaborate on everything that I wanted to say properly. And I wanted to say that when children are being taught these things, it's very good and it's important, so that they are shaped from when they're at an earlier age. Even when they grow older, you may not be able to control what they will do with their lives, but they will not forget what you would have taught them. And continue to pray for them, and teaching them will also help them to be protected emotionally, mentally, and even physically, as they apply what they've been taught. All right, so I hope you had a great time listening to me. See you again right on this channel, and stay blessed. Thank you.